September 9. My darling Varvara Alexievna, I am writing to you almost beside myself. I have been thoroughly upset by a terrible incident. My head is going round. Ah, my own, what a thing I have to tell you now. This we did not foresee. No, I don't believe that I did not foresee it. I did foresee it all. I had a presentiment of it in my heart. I even dreamed of something of the kind a day or two ago. This is what happened. I will write to you regardless of style, just as God puts it into my heart. I went to the office today. I went in, I sat down, I began writing. And you must know, Varinka, that I was writing yesterday, too. Well, this is how it was. Timofey Ivanovitch came up to me and was pleased to explain to me in person. "The document is wanted in a hurry," said he. "Copy it very clearly, as quickly as possible, and carefully, Makar Alexievitch," he said. "It goes to be signed today." I must observe, my angel, that I was not myself yesterday. I could not bear the sight of anything. Such a mood of sadness and depression had come over me. It was cold in my heart and dark in my soul. You were in my mind all the while, my little dearie. But I set to work to copy it. I copied it, clearly, legibly, only I really don't know how to explain it, whether the devil himself muddled me, or whether it was ordained by some decree of destiny, or it had to be. But I left out a whole line. Goodness knows what sense it made. It simply made none at all. They were late with the document yesterday, and only took it to His Excellency to be signed today. I turned up this morning at the usual hour, as though nothing had happened, and settled myself beside Emelian Ivanovitch. I must observe, my own, that of late I have been more abashed and ill at ease than ever. Of late I have given up looking at anyone. If I hear so much as a chair creak, I feel more dead than alive. That is just how it was today. I sat down like a hedgehog, crouched up and shrinking into myself, so that Efim Akimovitch, there never was such a fellow for teasing, said in the hearing of all, "Why are you sitting like a picture of misery, Makar Alexievitch?" And he made such a grimace that everyone sitting near him and me went off into roars of laughter, and at my expense, of course. And they went on and on. I put my hands over my ears and screwed up my eyes. I sat without stirring. That's what I always do. They leave off the sooner. Suddenly I heard a noise, a fuss and a bustle. I heard, did not my ears deceive me? They were mentioning me, asking for me, calling Dostoevsky. My heart began shuddering within me, and I don't know myself why I was so frightened. I only know I was panic-stricken as I had never been before in my life. I sat rooted to my chair, as though there were nothing the matter, as though it were not I. But they began getting nearer and nearer, and at last, close to my ear, they were calling, "Dostoevsky! Dostoevsky! Where is Dostoevsky?" I raised my eyes. Yevstafy Ivanovitch stood before me. He said, "Makar Alexievitch, make haste to His Excellency. You've made a mistake in that document." That was all he said, but it was enough. Enough had been said, hadn't it, Varinka? Half dead, frozen with terror, not knowing what I was doing, I went. Why, I was more dead than alive. I was led through one room, through a second, through a third, to His Excellency's study. I was in his presence. I can give you no exact account of what my thoughts were then. I saw His Excellency standing up. They were all standing round him. I believe I did not bow. I forgot. I was so flustered that my lips were trembling, my legs were trembling. And I had reason to be, my dear girl. To begin with, I was ashamed. I glanced into the looking-glass on the right hand, and what I saw there was enough to send one out of one's mind. And in the second place, I had always tried to behave as if there were no such person in the world, so that His Excellency could hardly have been aware of my existence. Perhaps he may have heard casually that there was a clerk called Dostoevsky in the office, but he had never gone into the matter more closely. He began angrily.
"What were you about, sir? Where were your eyes? The copy was wanted. It was wanted in a hurry, and you spoil it."
At this point, His Excellency turned to Dostoevsky Ivanovich. I could only catch a word here and there.
"Negligence, carelessness. You will get us into difficulties."
I would have opened my mouth to say something. I wanted to beg for forgiveness, but I could not. I wanted to run away, but dared not attempt it. And then, Varenka, something happened so awful that I can hardly hold my pen for shame, even now. A button, the devil take the button, which was hanging by a thread on my uniform, suddenly flew off, bounced on the floor. I must have caught hold of it accidentally. With a jingle, the damned thing, and rolled straight to His Excellency's feet, and that in the midst of a profound silence. And that was my only justification, my sole apology, my only answer, all that I had to say to His Excellency. What followed was awful. His Excellency's attention was at once turned to my appearance and my attire. I remembered what I had seen in the looking-glass. I flew to catch the button. Some idiocy possessed me. I bent down. I tried to pick up the button. It twirled and rolled. I couldn't pick it up. In fact, I distinguished myself by my agility. Then I felt that my last faculties were deserting me, that everything was lost. My whole reputation was lost. My dignity as a man was lost. And then, apropos of nothing, I had the voices of Teresa and Faldoni ringing in my ears. At last I picked up the button, stood up and drew myself erect. And if I were a fool, I might at least have stood quietly with my hands at my sides. But not a bit of it. I began fitting the button to the torn threads as though it might hang on, and I actually smiled. His Excellency turned away at first, then he glanced at me again. I heard him say to Dostoevsky Ivanovich,
"How is this? Look at him. What is he? What sort of man?"
"Ah, my own, think of that. What is he, and what sort of man?" I had distinguished myself. I heard Dostoevsky Ivanovich say, "No note against him for anything, behavior excellent, salary in accordance with his grade."
"Well, assist him in some way. Let him have something in advance," says His Excellency.
"But he has had an advance," he said. "He has had his salary in advance for such and such a time. He is apparently in difficulties, but his conduct is good, and there is no note. There has never been a note against him." My angel, I was burning in the fires of hell. I was dying.
"Well," said His Excellency, "make haste and copy it again, Dostoevsky. Come here, copy it over again without a mistake. And listen."
Here His Excellency turned to the others, gave them various instructions, and they all went away. As soon as they had gone, His Excellency hurriedly took out his notebook, and from it took 100-ruble note.
"Here," said he, "take it as you like. So far as I can help you, take it."
And he thrust it into my hand. I trembled, my angel. My whole soul was quivering. I don't know what happened to me. I tried to seize his hand to kiss it, but he flushed crimson, my darling, and here I am not departing one hair's breadth from the truth, my own. He took my unworthy hand and shook it, just took it and shook it, as though I had been his equal, as though I had been just such a general as himself.
You can go, he said. Whatever I can do for you. Don't make mistakes, but there, no great harm done this time.
Now, Varenka, this is what I have decided. I beg you and Fedora, and if I had any children I should bid them, to pray every day in all our lives for His Excellency, as they would not pray for their own father. I will say more, my dear, and I say it solemnly. Pay attention, Varenka. I swear that however cast down I was, and afflicted in the bitterest days of our misfortunes, looking at you, at your poverty, and at myself, my degradation and my uselessness, in spite of all that, I swear that the 100 roubles is not as much to me as that His Excellency deigned to shake hands with me, a straw, a worthless drunkard. By that he has restored me to myself. By that action he has lifted up my spirit, has made my life sweeter forever, and I am firmly persuaded that, however sinful I may be before the Almighty, yet my prayers for the happiness and prosperity of His Excellency will reach His throne. My darling, I am dreadfully upset, dreadfully excited now. My heart is beating as though it would burst out of my breast, and I feel, as it were, weak all over. I am sending you 45 roubles. I am giving the landlady 20 and leaving 35 for myself. For 20 I can put my wardrobe in order, and I shall have 15 left to go on with. But just now all the impressions of the morning have shaken my whole being. I am going to lie down. I am at peace, quite at peace, though. Only there is an ache in my heart, and deep down within me I feel my soul quivering, trembling, stirring. I am coming to see you, but now I am simply drunk with all these sensations. God sees all, my Varenka, my priceless darling. Your worthy friend, Makar Dostoevsky.